Thank you for watching Eye on Africa. I'm James Creedon. Here are our headlines this evening. Now, it was a major announcement by the French President. Operation Barkhane will be brought to an end in the Sahel. We'll bring you more on the decision to reduce France's military presence in Mali and neighbouring countries. It's World Day Against Child Labour on Saturday, and the UN says the situation is worsening. Child labour is now on the rise for the first time in 20 years, partly due to the economic impact of COVID-19. We'll bring you a report on efforts to combat that problem in Benin. And the fight against deforestation in Ghana. Friday saw a plan to plant 5 million trees in a single day. We'll hear more about that government-led Green Ghana initiative. Thanks for watching. Now, Operation Barkhane began back in August 2014. It's a French-led military operation targeting Islamist insurgents, mostly in the north of Mali, but extending to neighbouring countries also. Now, on Thursday, Emmanuel Macron said that Operation Barkhane will soon end. Now, it doesn't mean a total end to France's military presence in Mali, but a major scaling back of support is now on the horizon. The announcement comes in the aftermath of major turmoil in the Malian capital and 2 coups d'etat in the last 9 months. So what have reactions been on the streets of Bamako? Laurent Berstecker has more.
A day after Emmanuel Macron's announcements, Bamako residents were torn between relief and disappointment.
J'ai appris avec un peu de regret le retrait des troupes françaises au Mali. Bon, quand même, je suis un peu surpris.
Bon, France katali koni ne koni bolo koni anafa ka bwanga. Sam France nani de France nana se fo bima. Ama nafa fo yala.
While France did announce the end of its flagship Operation Barkhane, it won't be pulling out of Mali entirely. The country intends to keep a few hundred troops on the ground and integrate them to the European force Takuba. Created last year, it aims to become the main counter-terrorism mission in the Sahel region. Macron also said France would maintain and reinforce its cooperation with the Malian army, downsizing operations but maintaining a military presence, a message reiterated by France's defense minister on Friday.
Pour la sécurité des Français et pour la sécurité des Européens, nous resterons engagés au Sahel.
While no official timetable has been set, sources say France will seek to close several of its military bases in northern Mali, including in Timbuktu and Kidal, by early 2022. It also hopes to reduce its military presence by half over the next 2 years.
Laurent Berstecker there. Now, on Monday, Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta was sworn into office as transitional president following his second coup in 9 months. Today, Friday, it was announced that the Defence Ministry will be returned to Colonel Sadio Camara. Now, his removal from office was one of the factors that led to a coup toppling President Ba Ndaw last month. Camara was one of the leaders of an earlier coup last August that ousted then-President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. Huge turmoil in the last 12 months in Mali. To unpack that, we spoke earlier to Andrew Leibovich in Washington. He's an expert on the Sahel region. I started by asking him if a new Malian government with the return of Colonel Camara was a sign that Assimi Goïta has given into Emmanuel Macron's pressure. Let's take a listen.
I think the message from the government is actually that it was more about outreach to other partners within Mali, trying to give at least an impression of inclusivity and particularly the inclusion of the opposition movement, the M5 RFP, which now holds the transitional prime minister's post. But of course, this remains a government dominated by military figures, and particularly those close to the junta or part of the junta that staged the coup last August to begin with. So in that regard, I don't think much has actually changed, and it doesn't send much of a signal to France. That's going to be for other discussions that are ongoing about resuming cooperation.
Now, just as it was announced that Operation Barkhane was going to end, another announcement was made regarding the killing of 4 terrorists in the north of Mali on the 5th of June. Let's take a listen first, before we talk about that, to France's Defence Minister talking about that.
Une opération a été engagée contre les terroristes qui s'apprêtaient à frapper une emprise occupée par le bataillon tchadien de la mission des Nations Unies. Parmi eux, Baye Ag Bakabo, cadre d'Al-Qaïda au Maghreb islamique et responsable du rapt de nos concitoyens. Sa neutralisation met fin à une longue attente.
She's referencing there colleagues of ours here actually at Radio France Internationale back in 2014. That announcement coming as it was announced that Operation Barkhane is due to be ended. Do you think there's a connection in terms of the timing? And could this be a sort of parting shot?
I don't think we can conclude that it was necessarily related to the announcement. Certainly, French operations have continued, and if anything, this shows that despite the suspension of cooperation, of security cooperation with the Malian government, French operations have continued, particularly the operations targeting jihadist leaders. So I don't think we have enough evidence to draw a conclusion about a specific link, but it does show how French operations have continued and will continue after this.
Now, some have kind of read into this and the accepting of defeat in some regards when it comes to a fight against Islamism. Some observers have said really that we're dealing with a situation of Sharia law really being very firmly entrenched now or applied on the ground in parts of northern Mali, Bamako really having very little influence any longer, and the French military role having been to prop up Bamako's influence. Is it too much to say that this smacks in some ways of an admission of defeat?
Well, I think this has been in the works for some time, at least since before the Pau summit in 2020. It's been quite clear that President Macron intended to draw down forces. The drawdown that seems to be in the works is also going to be a fairly gradual one over time with a lasting presence. Though certainly anyone would be hard-pressed to say that the security situation has gotten better in recent years. And as you intimated, there are parts of Mali, just as there are parts of Burkina Faso, and limited parts of Niger, where jihadist groups have a significant amount of control or influence in Mali, in particular in parts of central Mali and northern Mali. And that is the situation that we're in now. And so it's not necessarily an admission of defeat, but certainly this is something that has been in the works for some time and does show the limits of these foreign interventions in Mali and in the wider Sahel.
Now, this Saturday is World Day Against Child Labour. Across the planet, it's estimated around 120 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 are forced to work, and often in horrific conditions. Almost half of those children are in Africa. In Benin, data was collected at 3 of the largest markets in the country in 2019, showing some 6,000 cases of child labour. The authorities have been fighting to change that. Our reporters Emmanuel Soji, Raphael Entale and Emmanuel Londe have more. Let's take a listen.
6 months ago, this 11-year-old boy, whom we'll call Issa, was working for a family. They exploited him and only paid him around €6 per month, and that's when he was paid.
My father is dead and my mother lives far away, so my uncle placed me in care with people. My employer said I was making too much of a mess, that's why I don't get paid.
Today, the young boy lives in a room that he rents with 6 other children he works at the market with. Issa is forced to work there to survive.
Every morning we unload trucks of pineapples, peanuts and other products. I can earn 3,000 to 4,000 francs a day if I work well.
In Benin, more than 1 in 2 children works, and a quarter of them do so in dangerous conditions, according to UNICEF. To reduce these figures, NGOs are trying to raise awareness by sending educators around the biggest markets, like here in Cotonou, to talk to the children about their situation and then direct them to this shack.
Nous avons entre 300 et 500 enfants qu'on rencontre dans le marché qui travaillent dans le système de rue. Mais quand on prend les enfants en général, ça va vers les 1000, 1500.
Here they're given access to literacy, accelerated learning courses, games and especially one-on-one sessions to talk about what they're going through. The objective, after investigation, is to reconnect them to their family.
Despite attempts to stop child labor, the communities, the parents, the guardians have not completely integrated the fact that children should not be exploited. That is why it continues.
It's thanks to the work of NGOs that Aubin was able to get out of this situation. Today he has his own sewing workshop. And when he meets working children, of which 7 out of 10 are girls, he tries to comfort them. Since 2019, the authorities have hardened the laws to deter adults from employing children. In the Atlantic Department, and therefore in Cotonou, the largest city, those who exploit children risk up to 2 years in prison if they are repeat offenders.
To Ghana next, and a plan to plant 5 million trees in a single day. Tens of thousands participated in the initiative, from the president to school children across the country's 16 regions. It's called the Green Ghana Project. The idea is that not just today, but once every year, the fight back against deforestation will see a mass planting effort where Ghanaians are all invited to plant a sapling. For more on the story, we can cross now to Kofi Adu-Domfe, news editor at the Multimedia Group. Thank you for talking to us this evening. Can you tell us a little bit more about how things went today?
I must say that it's been very refreshing throughout the day, seeing groups, individuals, and both corporate and groups coming out en masse to participate in this all-important tree planting exercise. It's been quite exciting.
And tell us a little bit about how the problem of deforestation became so bad in Ghana. I was reading earlier a shocking statistic that the forest cover is now 1/5, 20% of what it was in the 1990s. How did the problem accelerate to that extent?
Well, partly it had to do with the issue of felling of trees indiscriminately for timber export and all that. But recently, what has been the major challenge has to do with the activities of illegal mining, where large forest covers are cleared for mining activities. And that has been a major challenge confronting the country. And in the past couple of years, the government has been very particular about the impact of illegal mining on the forest cover.
Because this tree planting initiative, I mean, it's very difficult to find any fault with it, and it's a very easy project to put in place. But what's being done to combat maybe the sources of the original of the problem to begin with? For example, excessive mining.
Exactly. So the government has rolled out a number of initiatives towards addressing the challenge of illegal mining. Currently, there is a halt on almost all activities that has to do with mining, especially on forest reserves and other water bodies. But one important issue that is coming up has to do with how the tree planting exercises are going to be entrenched in terms of tracking these trees. It seems most times when the trees are planted, nurturing them becomes a problem. And questions people have been asking is that this should be a multifaceted approach where we indeed proceed with the illegal mining halt, as well as ensure that the tree planting exercises are sustained.
Now, I was reading earlier also about some of the problems with tree planting initiatives that have been identified in other countries, for example, Chile. Now, what they realised is if they were planting the same kind of tree, that this didn't really resolve a problem when it came to biodiversity. In fact, it could even worsen, well, perhaps solve one problem, but worsen other problems in terms of biodiversity. Has there been any effort in Ghana to ensure that it's a different variety of trees being planted so that the original forests can be reconstituted?
So I must say that from what I've seen, the tree planting exercise is in three fronts. You realize that some of the trees are purely economic trees, like coconut trees. Others are for shade, and there is a bit of the timber. So what is happening is that deep in the forest, of course, what is happening is the plantation of the timber species. But within the city centers and other residential areas, economic and shade trees are being encouraged. So I must say that there is a bit of diversity in the exercise.
All right, Kofi Adu-Domfe, thank you for those details on the Green Ghana project. And it's going to be happening every year, right? One day every year is what we've been understanding.
Hopefully. So this was just a day's exercise to plant 5 million trees. We are hoping that every other year there will be a particular target for the country.
Okay, battling deforestation in Ghana. Thank you for that. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you for watching and good night.